Gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's the 14th of May, 2024. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, rejoined this morning by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, the news of the last couple days. It's kind of like a little bit of an interesting time right now for the Miami Hurricanes. There's still one transfer portal guy. They are continuing to recruit. That's Louisville defensive end Tyler Barron. We'll talk about him here in a moment. But for the most part, it's moving on into the future, and the coaching staff is traveling the country, checking out all of these new 2025 and 2026 prospects that are out there, and we're trying to keep up with them and bring you guys a lot of news every day on some of these guys, and hope we're being successful. We'll talk a little bit about that also in a moment, but Matt, I wanted to start out today by, this is also the time of year where we sit around and we reflect and we think about the team that's going to be going on the field here in a few months at the end of August, early September. And we start trying to imagine what that team is going to look like. And part of that in the last few days has been trying to forecast who the breakout players are going to be on the 2024 Miami Hurricanes. We made ourselves limited to 5. We picked the 5 guys that we thought would be breakout guys. And over the last several days, we started out with number 5, Samson Okunlola, and he made some moves in spring practice on the offensive line, Matt. And it looked at times like he might be ready to be a starter, and then he'd have a bad day, and you start thinking, maybe he's not going to be ready this year to be a starter. And, you kind of go back and forth on it. There's a lot of competition now taking place on the offensive line. But we settled on Samson at number 5. And I just want to talk a little bit about these guys one by one, because we saved them up to cover them all on one Good Morning CaneSport show so that we could discuss them all together. And so I want to start out talking a little bit about Samson. And this is a kid, he came in with the 5-star label on his back, fairly or unfairly. He's a big kid. So big kids in high school tend to have their way and pushing people around. And he didn't really play a very high level of high school football, which, may have contributed to his dominance on the field. Well, he comes into Miami, and now it's a whole different ball game. Everybody weighs 300 plus pounds. That's at the line of scrimmage. He can't just have his way with everybody. He's got to have good technique, which he basically was learning almost from scratch because he didn't need technique in high school. And it's been a bit of a project for him over a year now in trying to work his way into the starting lineup. But now he's right on that edge, Matt, and we decided to go out on a limb and say he would be the number 5 breakout player, which means that we think that he will get over the hump by the fall. Talk a little bit about your thoughts on Samson Okunlola.
He's sort of like GameStop stock. He could either be off the charts amazing or just be another guy, because we don't know. We can put these lists together all day long, but when you're talking about a breakout player, it means he hasn't done anything yet. And if you look at Samson Okunlola, Ian Simonette came in as a 6'9", 340-pound monster, and he was nothing. So you just don't know until they do it. And Samson has all the intangibles. He looks like an NFL player. He moves like an NFL player. He bends like an NFL player. But he was at a different level of high school, so you couldn't really gauge when he's just shoving guys backwards constantly that are half his size until you see really good defensive linemen that he can stop, that he can push around, that he can use his technique on and footwork on and show that he gets it. You don't know. So he was working at guard, at tackle this spring, and we were able to catch some glimpses of him. It's hard to say that he gets it at this point. So really he's on this list because he was a 5-star. Like, that's the only reason. If he wasn't a 5-star, if he came in as a 3-star, he wouldn't be on this list. Let's call an apple an apple. Let's call a Ferman a Ferman. He would not be on this list except for the fact that he was a 5-star. So that's why he's on the list, and that's the truth. And we're not going to know until fall drills when they name a starter. And if they name him, that means it's probably going to live up to expectations because Alex Mirabal and Mario Cristobal know what it should look like. And if it's Matthew McCoy or if they use Markel Bell at tackle and move Mawagoa to guard or something, that's probably not going to be a good sign for him. But for now, I like him at number 5.5.
And all those options are on the table, by the way. But you could see the progress. It had nothing to do with his star ranking at that point. Like you could see the progress he's making, and he's getting closer to being ready to contribute. But I just think people have to understand that even though he was a 5-star, it doesn't mean he didn't have a long way to go. Like the distance from here to here was a lot shorter for Francis, for example, than Samson. But he is making progress, so we put him number 5 on our list. The guy that we put at number 4 on our breakout player list was freshman wide receiver JoJo Trader. And, it might seem like a reach at first glance. True freshman, just went through spring practice. How the hell is he going to be a breakout player? You got to watch JoJo Trader. This kid is smooth. He made plays at every single practice, every single drill. You could see the potential. He seemed to know what he was doing. He wasn't running the wrong routes. He was on the same page as the quarterbacks. He trains with Cam Ward. This is a kid that's walked in here and is doing everything right. Okay, he's doing all the right things, making all the right moves. And for that reason, we think he is going to be given the opportunity to play a reasonable amount here in the fall. And with that opportunity, we think he's going to do pretty darn well. And Matt, I know you were equally impressed with him as I was. We really didn't have to argue about putting him number 4 on this list. Why don't you comment a little bit just on what you saw from JoJo Trader?
I mean, he can do it all. He's great. But Miami was a little schizophrenic last year. They played a lot of freshmen. I think they were in the top 5 for true freshman reps or something like that in the country. But at the same time, they took a million transfers and played all those guys. And I think to some extent, Mario Cristobal has to continue to play freshmen because honestly, that's what attracts a lot of top high school prospects in this day and age of the transfer portal and NIL. If he just continues to take double-digit transfers and play those guys, and you wind up just seeing some redshirt sophomores and juniors getting the other reps, that's going to be a big turnoff to high school recruits. They can sell right now in recruiting for 2025 and beyond that look at all the freshmen we're playing. You're going to come here and you will have a chance to play immediately. Look what happened with Ruben Bain. Look what happened with Mark Fletcher. Look what happened with Francis Mawagoa. Look what happened with Damari Brown. You just go down the list of different guys. And there was depth guys that played as true freshmen also. So that's super important. And if you're looking at the freshman list this year and you want to play the most talented guys on that list, you're not going to convince me that JoJo Trader is not one of the top 5. So he's got to play. I mean, he's got to play not just because he's talented enough, but because Mario Cristobal loves recruiting. And you need to play guys like this to show future recruits that, hey, we're not just going to bring in Sam Brown to bench our freshmen. The freshmen will play. That's super important.
I mean, kid's got unbelievable hands, catches everything. Doesn't have that, top end speed that you would want from an elite number 1 receiver. No argument there if anybody wants to bring that up. But runs good routes, has good hands, has the intangibles, has the work ethic, has the swag. I think JoJo Trader is going to have a very good Miami career, and it will start this year. Now, you can't do a breakout player list without going out on the limb a little bit, okay? So for number 3, we went out on the limb a little bit, maybe a lot. And we said Markeith Williams, the safety, is the number 3 breakout player on our list. And safety is a little bit of a complicated position right now, Matt. You've got Jaden Harris there, who hasn't done much. You have Zaquan Patterson there, who's a true freshman, and not a whole hell of a lot else. Okay, so they're moving. They're going to probably use Mish Powell, the transfer from Washington, at safety, which is where he played last year at Washington. And he does figure to probably grab one of the starting spots there. Okay, but when we look at the other guys, Markeith Williams quietly seemed to be making forward progress late last year. And, we watched him in spring practice and he seemed to be continuing that. And he's got a long way to go. No argument. Safety is not position of strength for Miami this year. But Matt, if we're going to go out on the limb and we're going to try to identify guys that might break out this year, I mean, Markeith Williams is as good a candidate as anybody.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows me as, Mr. Negativity and all that, but I actually like Markeith Williams a lot. I'm not a big fan of Jaden Harris, based on what I saw last year when he got a lot of opportunities when Cam Kinchins was hurt, and also this spring he didn't stand out to me. Markeith is a guy who I think has plus ability across the board in terms of range, tackling. He's not the best at anything, honestly. He's not the best at anything, but you know what? Neither was Cam Kinchins, other than interceptions and being in the right place to make interceptions. Markeith is plus in every area, plus speed, plus range, plus tackling, plus physicality. He can cover a little bit, not his strength, but he can cover a little bit. And so the only thing he hasn't gotten to this point is opportunity. So believe it or not, I am buying the GameStop stock on Markeith Williams. I actually think he's a good player.
You keep bringing up this GameStop stock, and I remember
yesterday, I wish I bought it at one point, and then I wish I had not bought it at another point. Goes up 100%, goes down 40%.
Well, it's one of those stocks they manipulate on those message boards. Where
as you like to say, it's a meme stock. It's actually pronounced meme, but you like to say meme, so it's a meme stock.
They do. They manipulate the stock. They go on these message boards on Reddit and stuff, and they pound the table and say buy, 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 buy. Everybody buys. Stock goes up, and then everybody sells all at the same time. The stock goes back down to where it started. It's like a Ponzi scheme. If you hit it right, you can make some money, but it's very hard.
I don't recommend doing that unless you were really trying to get some NIL money for a Miami Hurricanes player, and you got money just to throw away, like all the other people giving money to NIL across the country. Like, listen, if you're going to just throw your money away as a Florida booster, Florida State booster, Texas booster, like you may as well throw it into the GameStop stock. Why not? Same thing. You just throw it away. But you got a chance to make it
a lot faster than it goes up. I'll tell you that. Like those things go down when they hit and people hit that sell button. Woo! It is ugly. So invest carefully, Canes fans. With Matt sitting here.
Yeah, we are not here to be sued because we recommended GameStop stock. I'm not recommending anyone buy any meme stocks. Okay, and if you do sue anybody, sue that guy. All right, not me, because I got no money. You can't go after me. He's got all the money. That guy.
All right, number 2 on our list of breakout players is a guy that, man, he's on the list almost because we're dying to see him. I mean, he's done nothing yet, but you just know that he's got potential from what we were expecting of him when he came out of high school, and that's defensive tackle Josh Horton. And man, it looks like he's getting healthy. We're fingers are crossed that he'll be out there from day one of fall camp. And this is a big athletic body that should very quickly be able to rise and make an impact in the defensive line and get into the rotation. And if he can do that, we think he'll be a breakout player this year. And that's why we're going out on the limb there as well. Like I said earlier, it makes no sense to do a breakout player list if you're not going to go out on the limb in picking the potential breakout players. So we have identified Josh Horton as a defensive tackle that can possibly be that guy. Matt, you look at him and you're like, oh my God, it's like Jerome Brown all over again physically. He looks great. I mean, this is a guy who's dunking basketballs in high school and things like that. I mean, he's athletic, he's big. He still has been recovering from some injuries he had in high school, which is why he hasn't hit a stride yet in college. Obviously, by putting him on this list, we think this will be the year. You talk about what you've seen in Josh Horton.
Yeah, he's my life wallet stock pick of this entire top 5 group here. I mean, total car crash.
Now we're counting life wallet.
Total car crash to this point. But you know what? There's some upside because now it's worth what? An adjusted 5 cents on the dollar? Like, I'll buy Josh Horton for 5 cents on the dollar. I think he's got huge upside. Don't buy life wallet stock. Again, I'm not telling anyone to buy MSP, whatever the hell it is. I am not a proponent of any stock. All right? I'm trying to make this show mildly interesting because otherwise it's super boring. I mean, like, what are we going to talk about? What is this, May 14th? Like, what's going on May 14th? We're going to talk about the baseball team? No. Basketball team has like 3 players on it. Yeah, I know they have a few more, but on campus. There's just spring practice is over. No official visits yet. So what else we got to talk about? But I do think that Josh Horton has big upside.
What we're going to do is we're going to crash your retirement accounts is what we're going to do. Matt's going to sit there and tout all these crazy stocks, and you're going to go out and buy, and then you're going to be working till you're 90 because you're not going to have retirement.
Oh, okay. I feel like I'm already 90, so I don't know what age I'm going to work until mentally. But listen, Josh Horton, last year, if he didn't come late summer, I think he arrived in what? He didn't even come for summer, too. I think he didn't get here until August for the start of actual drills, right? I think if he had come earlier, he would have had a real chance to play. Because if you remember, they ran out of defensive tackles in games. They ran out of defensive ends in games. Like they were using Jared Harrison-Hunt, former Miami Hurricane great Jared Harrison-Hunt, who started more games than anyone else returning on the roster, only to be jettisoned like a $10 Life Wallet stock at its IPO. They needed Josh Horton last year. They needed him, and he just wasn't ready. And now he's been banged up. He didn't play in the spring, so we didn't get a chance to see him. But if you ask coaches about Josh Horton, unless they don't want you to know, like they'll tell you he's going to be really, really, really good. Like he's one of those guys who, for his size, they say light on his feet, quick. Those are the type of words you want to hear about a big defensive tackle, right? You don't want to hear run stopper. Whenever anyone says run stopping defensive tackle, all that means is he's slow. Okay. So I'm not going to call him a run-stopping defensive tackle. He's a tackle who can stop the run and get after the quarterback. And that's really what you need in a top-performing ACC tackle in the current day and age of scrambling quarterbacks and misdirection and, guys you got to just run guys down from behind sometimes. So I think Josh Horton sneakily could wind up starting. They're not going to not start Josh Horton if he's the best defensive tackle on the roster this fall. And we just don't know yet. Simeon Barrow hasn't got here yet. I think Simeon Barrow, believe it or not, is a run-stopping defensive tackle. I'm sorry to say it. That's Michigan State football, believe it or not, okay? They need those guys. I'm not sure that on third downs you're going to want Simeon Barrow. On passing situations, I should say. I'm not sure you want Simeon Barrow on the field instead of Josh Horton. So I think Josh Horton is going to be on the field for a lot of reps. And I think he'll be productive. And I think he'll be really, really good as long as he's back 100% and is able to stay at 100%.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, you got CJ Clark, Simeon Barrow, Marley Cook. Those are the three guys that you're hoping you can count on, except for there's just one problem. Barrow's had a decent career, so I won't, include him in what I'm about to say, but Clark and Cook have played a lot of football, but it's been in anonymity. I mean, Clark at NC State was a good football player, and he'll be solid here, a solid part of the rotation. But there's none of these guys that are on the landscape of college football where anybody's saying, oh, my God, Miami's got these great defensive tackles now, and Miami's all set at the defensive tackle position. No, that's not the case. And if a guy like Josh Horton could develop in time for this season and get to the point where he's he doesn't have to be the best defensive tackle on the team. Matt might be being a little ambitious there, but can he be the second best or the third best? I mean, that would be great. It doesn't figure to be Justin Scott coming in as a true freshman. I mean, he's got promise, but he's not likely to be that guy walking in to play defensive line in college football as a true freshman. So it would be nice if Josh Horton, who's a little bit further along physically, could do that. He has been, in a college strength and conditioning and nutrition program for a year. So it would be great to see Josh Horton be that guy, and that's why he is on our breakout player list. Now,
by the way, one more quick thing, with Clark. A reason I think he was slow to progress this spring, and he was with the twos for the first half of spring ball, is he was a zero tech at NC State. He was playing over the center, and Miami doesn't do that. Miami doesn't play a three-man front unless they have everybody hurt, which happened a couple times last year. So when he's playing the three tech, you got to be nimble, you got to be fast, and he really just wasn't so much. And that's the concern, honestly, at defensive tackle, and why I think Horton, why we put him so high up on this list, because he is that guy who can create something, shooting through some space and getting into the backfield versus just holding his ground. So, again, defensive tackle is a concern because there aren't, I don't like to use Warren Sapp as an example, but that type of player, the guy who not just can hold his ground, but can actually get into the offensive backfield. Not Warren Sapp, but, a guy that can do that. I don't see a guy that can do that on this roster right now. It's not a true freshman, Justin Scott. The only guy that's not a true freshman that can do it is Josh Horton to me, just based on the film I've seen and what I know. So again, I do think Horton's going to be a big key to this season if they want to create some disarray in the offensive backfield for opponents. And, the good news for Miami is I just started looking at some of the opponents. Like, none of them are very good passing offense-wise. They have quarterbacks that are dual threats that can run the ball, throw the ball effectively. But if you're talking about, when you look at the Heisman Trophy odds, for instance, the highest Heisman Trophy odds is FSU's quarterback at number 18. And after that, I think there's nobody in the top 35, and maybe then maybe it's the Louisville guy, maybe, and then nobody in the top 50. Like, there's basically two quarterbacks that they play, both who are pretty much dual threats, by the way, aren't just going to light you up throwing the ball, that are the only good quarterbacks Miami will face all year. So there's not maybe as much impetus that they have to get to the quarterback real quickly if these guys aren't able to pinpoint passes down the field against, quite honestly, a suspect secondary. But if you do want to get after the quarterback a little bit, Horton's your guy. But if you're more concerned with, hey, let's stop the run because these quarterbacks can't throw the ball anyway, then I like the Barrow combination, with a Marley Cook even, who's a tough guy to move, very strong. Or Barrow and Clark would be just fine too in those situations. So to me, that's my opinion, by the way. Don't buy my stock. Don't take my opinions. I really don't care. I'm just telling you what I think.
All right. And the fifth guy on the list is a guy that, you're watching practice day after day this spring, and didn't matter what this guy was doing. I mean, he was jumping off the practice field. Like, you put him at running back, he's busting runs. You put him at tight end, he's catching balls. He's going deep. You put him at H-back, he's a nightmare for linebackers to cover. This kid, I have no hesitation going out on the limb and saying that Elijah Lofton, I don't know where he's going to project in 3 years or 4 years to go into the NFL. He's a very unique player, and his skill set fits very well into the college game and the offense Miami's running right now. I'm not making NFL predictions on this kid, but I feel very comfortable saying that Elijah Lofton is going to have a spectacular Miami Hurricane career, that he is going to be an immediate, impactful player in Shannon Dawson's offense. And I used to have a saying, he can do it all and then some. Matt, I'm going to say he can do it all and then some on steroids for Elijah Lofton.
Well, let's not say on steroids, okay? You don't want to say.
I didn't say he's on steroids. I said he can do it all and then some on steroids.
It's very confusing. Like, he could do it more and then some when he's on steroids. Like, it doesn't make any sense. The way you said it could be two meanings. But anyway, the funny thing, Riley Williams, the master of words, he called Elijah Lofton, the quote was, little Deebo Samuel. And, obviously Riley Williams hasn't met Deebo Samuel because Elijah Lofton's 3 inches taller and 15 pounds heavier. So he's big Deebo Samuel. And big Deebo Samuel will be getting carries in the backfield, in my opinion. I mean, what a great goal line back. I understand Damian Martinez is all everything, blah, 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 blah. But like, Mario just loves to shove the ball down people's throats. And if you want to do that on the goal line, do you want a 6'3", 230-pounder? Or do you want a 5'11", 200, whatever he is, 10 pounds, 500 pounds, whatever? I don't know. But like, it's certainly nice to have a guy like Lofton who can be in the backfield, maybe even at the same time as Martinez. You don't know who's getting the ball. You don't know who's running routes. I was looking at some old Houston film, for instance, right? And it's no secret that in Shannon Dawson's last year with Houston, he threw the ball, I think it was 60 times to his running backs, right? And while Elijah Lofton is called an H-back, okay, he's really a running back. If you're lining up in the backfield catching passes, to me, it doesn't matter if you're called an H-back or running back, whatever, you're basically playing that running back position in that scheme. And if you're throwing 60 passes or completing, more than 60, because he completed 60, okay, to his running backs. If you're doing that 2 years ago in Shannon Dawson's offense, I can very easily imagine, with defenses so worried about Cam Ward throwing the ball to Restrepo and George and Brown, and if you bring in Ray Joseph, who everyone's ignoring now, Trader, who we just talked about, right? Isaiah Horton. I mean, these defenses are going to have a tough time really trying to stack up the line and match up with the H-backs and running backs running routes. I can easily see a scenario where Elijah Lofton gets 30 catches, 400 yards this year. Like, I can see that easily. And by the way, this was, for those of you that remember Rhett Lashley's offense, how Rhett Lashley used the running backs on wheel routes and things like that. If you watch Shannon Dawson's film in Houston, he did the same thing where the running back would just take a little dip, right? He'd look like he's coming out for the screen, look back to the quarterback, Linebacker comes up on him, and then bam, he's gone past the linebacker. All the receivers have cleared out to the other side of the field, down the field, and the guy's wide open for a touchdown. I mean, I've seen those clips, and that's the sort of dynamic that Martinez can bring as a pass catcher too, by the way, because people underestimate him as a receiver. He said one of the reasons he wanted to come to Miami is because Dawson told him he will use him as a receiver also, and he wants to showcase that to the NFL, which makes sense, right? He wants to be a first-round NFL draft pick next year. But Lofton's the wild card, man. I don't even know if Lofton should be the breakout player, because I think everyone knows after this spring that he is going to be a multi-dimensional, multifaceted, multi-fill-in-the-blank threat. And he will not be on steroids.
How do you know? No, I'm kidding.
Because I know. He doesn't need them. He's 6'3", 230 pounds. He doesn't need steroids. Unlike what you may think.
But yeah, no, I feel so certain that this kid's going to have a big season. So very exciting, and looking forward to seeing Elijah Lofton play football for the Miami Hurricanes. So this is ranking season right now at CaneSport.com. And by the way, if you like this show and you're presently on YouTube, hit your subscribe and like buttons. It does help us with the algorithms at YouTube and growing our audience. If you are not yet a subscriber to CaneSport.com, your subscriptions allow our entire staff to work every single day. Please, please, please come on over, support us with a subscription, join our community of fans. We will do everything we can do on a daily basis at CaneSport.com to enhance your fan experience. And that takes us to the other ranking that we have started rolling out here right now, and that is our 50-to-1 countdown. And this is an exercise that we undertake every year where we rank the players on the team. And you start getting down about 50, and, it gets a little tricky. But we started with number 50, Jordan Lyle, the running back coming in from St. Thomas Aquinas. Could factor into playing time as a true freshman as well. I mean, it's going to be a little tough. He's not coming until, right now in the summer, and he's got to learn very, very fast. But he's got incredible skills. And had Miami not gotten Martinez, I would be sitting here right now predicting that Jordan Lyle could end up as a feature back in this year's offense. With Miami getting Martinez and having Lofton having gone through spring, Jay Allen coming back, I'm not sure they're going to have to rush Jordan Lyle to that same degree. I think he will play this year, but I don't think he has to carry the offense. And that's why he's number 50 on our list, as opposed to like number 25 or 30, where he might have been had Miami not gotten Martinez. Same thing goes for Christopher Johnson. This is a kid. He earned a role this spring. I just don't know how big that role is going to be because of the other guys at the position. I see him as a specialist, Christopher Johnson. He broke out, did a lot of great things in the spring. He showed that he's ready. But I see him shaping up as more of a specialist, the guy that gets a handful of reps every game, kind of like the way we saw Brashard Smith used here. Every now and then, he gets an opportunity and pops a play. Probably kind of the same way like a Ray Joseph is going to probably be used this year. So won't be an every down guy, but will be a guy that you see on the field from time to time and given an opportunity to make big plays because he has phenomenal speed. And then we went to number 48, Cole McConaughey. He's a young defensive end. He's not ready totally physically, but he'll remind you of like a Darren Crine, a Rusty Medeiros, Kevin Patrick kind of defensive end, a kid that really gets after it. And he's going to be a very good player for Miami. Time will tell how much that starts to evolve this season, but we had him at number 48. And then today we roll out number 47, and that is another freshman safety, Zaquan Patterson. And this is a kid that was coming fast at the end of spring, not totally there yet. We're not ready to project him as a starter at safety, but he is also going to be a phenomenal player for the Miami Hurricanes. And today we take you deep inside with a look at the game of Zaquan Patterson and rank him number 47. So, Matt, I will kick it back to you. 47 to 50, all in one swoop here. I just covered Zaquan Patterson, Cole McConaughey, Christopher Johnson, Jordan Lyle. Do you have anything that you would like to add?
Of course. I always have something to add, but it's never what you want to hear. I'm not talking about those guys. So what I want to add is every team that's really going to be a championship level team, there's always injuries, right? You always need backups who play at a high level. You really need, to me, look, a true 2 deep is 44 players. Honestly, you probably need 35 to 40, right? So here, these are the players. Last year, we did the same rankings last year, okay? We ranked 1 to 50 last year. And I'm going to read off the names right now from 29 to 50, which means that the top 28 players, some were hit or miss, some were pretty good. But this is 29 to 50. These are the guys that you actually need to step up and be depth guys and be ready to fill in, right? This is the same time of year. This is not during the season.
From last year's list, clarify.
Post-spring. Okay. Last year. It might even have been pre-spring. I can't remember exactly when we ran it. But these were the players that most people thought after the previous season. Yeah, after the previous season, these are the guys who were supposed to be, the guys that were going to be ranked 29 to 50. Like the guys who weren't going to be great, but were going to have to be good and have to contribute. And you'd hope at least 5 or 10 of them would pan out and do something. All right. So I'll go from the back to the top. Number 50, and then we'll talk about how many of them made an impact. Because it was one. Okay, one of them made an impact that I would consider a real impact. So Thomas Gore was 50, Malik Curtis, number 49, Caleb Spencer, 48, Ahmad Moten, 47, Jaden Harris, 46, Logan Sagapolu, 45, Markeith Williams, 44, Frank Ladson, 43, Chris Graves, 42, Keontre Smith, 41, Robbie Washington was 40, Emory Williams was 39, Jakari Brown was 38, Brashard Smith was 37, Terry Roberts, who came for a sip of tea in the spring and then left or whatever, he was 36. Nothing else to say about that. He was barely here. Samson Okamola was 35. Dylan Joyce, he's the one I think made a sizable impact, obviously, was 34. And he's the punter. He's not even one of the guys you need on defense or offense, obviously. Jared Harrison Hunt was 33. Maybe he's a 1.5. He played out of an emergency situation because of injuries and did okay. Jaleel Skinner was 32. Corey Flagg was 31. Decent backup, nothing special. Ray Joseph was 30. And Don Chaney was 29. So out of all those guys ranked 29 to 50, okay, that we perceived as being, basically half of the 50 guys you need to play in a season, right? You need 50 in a season usually that'll at least get some action. One of them may be hit, and that was a punter. That's part of the problem this program's had. And as we go through this list this year, it's going to be really interesting a year from now as we look back and say, oh, yeah, look, there was 5 guys, there was 10 guys in this 29 to 50 list versus 1 guy, right? Because that's when you know that the roster building's happening. And that's why we do this every year. So you can reflect back and say, geez, man, like what happened? What happened to all these guys that were supposed to help out the team and just didn't? So anyway, that was my thoughts.
Yeah, it's interesting. And that's why, we like going through this at this time of year, like really just taking a step back and giving you guys a look at exactly what this team really is, because every new year brings so much anticipation and hope, and Miami's going to be back, and this year's no different. Everyone's very excited, as they should be. But it doesn't always work out the way everybody wants it to. And it's not a simple science. And, Mario's chipping away at this thing. He's going into year 3 now. We should start to see a move this year. Man, I hope we do. I think we will. But it's been a lot of work. And this roster has needed a big makeover. And I think you're talking about 40 new players this year coming in this fall from that weren't here at the end of last year. It's a big deal, man. It's almost a half a roster. But, what you're seeing is this roster needed that. And this is the 3rd straight time it's needed that. So it's a big project, no doubt. But so we are bringing you that the top 50 series. And you guys can check that out on the website today. This is not on the website today, but I did not want to not touch on an update on Tyler Barron, because we haven't spoken about the Louisville defensive end. It's still the lone guy sitting there in the transfer portal that Miami's recruiting. They're having patience, I'll tell you that. I'm not sure that I would have had this much patience. I mean, this is a kid that is a good talent. He's going to get drafted, okay? I don't know where, but he'll get drafted next April. He's got that type of ability. This is not a bad player by any stretch. He is a guy that will contribute to the team this year if he comes here. But he's been sitting here for weeks since his visit. Seems like it's Miami, USC. He's stalling to see if he could drive up the price. He saw Cam Ward stall before he came to Miami, and maybe he's thinking that he's going to get a bigger offer from Kane's connection or something if he waits to commit. But Tyler, I'm sure you woke up this morning and are watching the show. I'm going to give you some advice from the heart, man. It's like, Mario Cristobal is exercising an enormous amount of patience with you. Okay, I don't know that I would have waited this long for your commitment before I moved on and just focused on the guys I already have on the team. And granted, you can make a contribution to the 2024 Miami Hurricanes, but like, you haven't played. You've been hurt, man. Like, you got hurt at Louisville. You have not played football in a while. You need to be in the weight room at Miami and out in the indoor practice facility every day, training and getting ready for this season. Not meeting with your investment banker, figuring out what you're going to do with your newfound riches from NIL. I mean, I don't know who's advising you. Whoever they are giving you horrendous advice. Not even horrendous, horrific advice. You need to take the bull by the horns. You're a grown man. You're going to be paid to play football. Take the bull by the horns and say, I'm going to Miami, and I'm going to get down there right now and start working under Aaron Feld and get my body right. And then I'm going to be taught by Jason Taylor, one of the best to ever do it. And I am going to get myself ready to be a great player for Miami this season and position myself as well as I can for the NFL draft. Because right now you're playing games with yourself, all right? So, Tyler, I know you're watching. Please listen to me. I'm giving you great advice from the heart. Get your commitment in, get your butt down the campus, and start working. That's the best advice I can give you. But anyway, so he's stalling and probably hoping his NIL deal is going to get better. I don't know, what the particulars are of it or what it will be or not be or whatever. I mean, what he's looking at, but he is reaching the point, in my opinion, Matt, where he needs to, crap or get off the pot, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I wish they did the same thing with Cam Ward. They should just set him free. Said, forget it. We don't want you anymore. I don't know what they were thinking.
Well, all right. No, wait. Stop for a minute. Stop. Okay, because you're making a good point. Okay, that we could debate here for a minute. Because Miami took Cam Ward anyway, even though he did stretch it out for weeks, even though they took Reese Poffenberger with the anticipation that Reese would be the starter this year, and then had to come up with, with an additional slot to bring in Cam Ward, and it worked out. And now they have a great quarterback. So if you want to make the argument that you wait endlessly for great players, which clearly is the way Mario Cristobal feels about it, then maybe you're right. I just don't like I want guys that are all in.
It's a negotiation, and you have to find out when you have leverage and when you don't. If you are trying to buy a house and somebody else has bid against you and has bid more, and I'm not saying, this is a bidding war, obviously, but if somebody has bid more and you are at the top of your budget, then you say, listen, take it or leave it. I'll give you no inspections, whatever. In other words, you're guaranteed a starting spot, whatever. You offer what you can offer, right? And that's it. Either take it or they leave it, and you're done. But if it's something where you're right there and it's a competitive price, and the other buyer you're bidding against hasn't budged and you haven't budged, and the person who's selling the house isn't quite sure what they're going to do yet, you just say, oh, just give it to the other person. Forget it. I'm withdrawing from that. Like, it's the house you want, so you wait. If you already are renting a house for the next 6 months, you're tied into a lease anyway. Season's 6 months away, right? Or whatever it is. I haven't added it up. Less than 6 months, a few months away. Oh, then you wait. Like, what's the harm? I don't understand the rush for judgment. Now, if you need that guy on campus for this first spring session, which you don't because he's hurt, he can't play anyway. But if that's a situation where you want him melding with the team, figuring out what you got, working with, you only get 1 day a week with the coaches, whatever it is, get him in the weight room. He's got to do this, he's got to do that. You have the progression for him that he needs. Then you give him the ultimatum, like, listen, we need to develop you. You need to be here now. We want you with the team. If you can't do it, forget it. And you give him the ultimatum. But that's not apparently the case here. And it seems like Mario's happy to take him August, whatever, 3rd, 5th, 10th, because this is a guy who supposedly wasn't going to be healthy anyway until the start of fall drills or early in fall drills. So there's no rush.
Yeah. I don't know. I wish I had that kind of patience, man. I want my guys.
They just ignore you because you don't like the whole NIL. You don't like NIL. You don't like the portal. You're like one of these 90-year-old
NIL. I think.
Why are you serving turkey on Thanksgiving? It makes me sleepy. I don't want to be sleepy on Thanksgiving. That's like you right now.
No.
Like Turkey and Thanksgiving.
You know why I like NIL, and I do? I like NIL because it is being proven that these kids have value. And if a kid, I don't care if someone's 16, 17, 18, 19, if they have value, they deserve to get paid and capitalize on their value. You know, when a 16-year-old singer becomes a pop star, you know, Britney Spears or Justin Bieber or you know, these kids come out and become pop stars, Miley Cyrus, Ariana Grande, whatever, you know, they're all very young. They make millions. They get paid. Why should it be different? Because a kid that goes to Boca Raton High School, like Ariana Grande did, plays football and instead of singing. It's the same thing. I'm totally for these kids making money because it's being proven that they have value. But I just like my guys all in. And I know it's being proven wrong with Cam Ward. He's got the greatest attitude. He's a total team leader. But he was here for, you know, for spring practice in plenty of time. Okay. Spring practice has come and gone. The off-season workouts now with Summer A beginning today. Well, I guess technically the date would have been yesterday, but classes begin today or whatever. But Summer A is cranking up here this week. And the team is together. You know, any trips home or whatever anybody was going to take are done, and the team's together now. And if you're going to be on this team, I would like to see Tyler Barron be there with his new teammates, getting to know them, building bonds and chemistry. So I could see the opposite point of view, but I would like to see this decision made sooner rather than later. All right, we told you that the coaches are all out recruiting. A lot going on the recruiting front. We have a ton of those stories for you today. You could check them all out. You know, Miami's offered a young receiver, a 2026 kid from North Carolina by the name of Gavin Waddle. His recruitment is taking off. We take you inside that. Another 2026 kid, a tight end that Miami just offered. You know, his name is Evan Jacobson. We've got that story for you on the website. We've got another 2026 kid, this one a 4-star cornerback, Zion Gibson from Gadsden City, Alabama. You can check out what he's saying about the Miami Hurricanes. Miami became the first ACC program to offer 4-star cornerback, Zion Gibson, also from Alabama. We bring you an update on him. So a lot of different recruiting stories. There's more. I'm not going to go through every one of them, but a lot of different recruiting stories for you guys to check out this morning. And, you know, hope you do enjoy that. But that's going to do it for today for Good Morning CaneSport, a.k.a. the Matt Shodell Stock Report. I'm Gary Ferman. He's Matt Shodell. Thank you so much for starting out your day with us, and we will see you next time, everybody.